Mikel, a late goal to get the draw, but overall, do you think you deserved that at the very least?
Yeah, at the very least. I'm so proud of my players, of the team, the way we played, the way we dominated almost every aspect of the game, and the feeling is very disappointed not to win the game.
You mentioned that you think that you dominated, but do you think that you weren't quite at the same level we've seen you in other games this season, especially in the first half?
No, I think we played better than last year when we beat them.
Really?
Yeah. In a lot of things, much better, yes.
Pep, obviously disappointment right at the end there, but what did you think overall of the team's performance?
Strong mentally, so being there, so it's difficult to play when our intention of high pressing is not effective because they are good and we are not effective. After how you had to defend deeper. But last season we lost 5-1, today we draw. We were close, it's a little bit dead, but we cannot be, I would say, unsatisfied. We cannot say it's not fair the result.
Can you talk me through that goal? Because it was a real moment of magic that you produced.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Ebsa getting the ball. I just tried to make eye contact with him, and once the ball was open, I made the movement, and yeah, it was a great ball from him, and yeah, I just tried to put it in the back of the net.
If you are 1-0 up, like till extra time, you want to go home with the 3 points. But everybody knows playing here against Arsenal away, it's always difficult. But yeah, we have to keep going and keep working.
Liverpool's gap now is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, we cannot control that. They win every match. It's going to be very difficult, but we have to do what we have to do. And if we play at this level, what we've done against Manchester City, we will be fine.
Quite a lot to unpick there, even though it was a 1-1 draw, based on both teams' approaches, really. And the stats make interesting reading, but the possession stat for Arsenal would indicate, Theo, that they dominated the game, and even the touch in the opposition box, and yet you didn't feel like Manchester City were under siege, did you?
No, I mean, all the possession that Arsenal had, I've got to disagree with Mikel Arteta saying the fact that they played better than last year. I mean, you won 5-1. I mean, you obviously get a result, draw today in the last few minutes. But for me, it was a completely lacklustre game for Arsenal in the first half, particularly. It really was. It was not Arsenal we're used to. And it was really a bit of a surprise, the lineup as well, which surprised a few people. But you have all these options and there was attacking threat and you don't utilise it.
When you say that the lineup surprised you, are you talking about that midfield balance? Are you talking about Eze being on the bench?
Yeah, for me, when you sign a player like Eze, the game changers, we just call them, or however you want to call these guys, fans want to see these players play. They want to play in these big games. They want to see people actually be able to take risks. And I feel like in these games, if you want to get results, you have to be able to take those risks. And at this moment in time, Arsenal aren't doing that. I was just disappointed in Eze's part, actually, not to actually play, to be honest, in the starting lineup. And I think, obviously, it changed in half-time, didn't it, bring them on. OK, from a Manchester City point of view, just on the stats, the 32.8% possession that City had is the lowest figure that any Pep Guardiola team has recorded in any of his 601 top-flight matches. Was that needs must because of the week they've had, because of players coming back from injury, because of the opposition?
Probably a bit of everything. I think the 5-1 as well last year, I think that's probably fresh in Pep's mind as well. Arsenal are a strong force. They're one of the favourites for the title. Maybe he's thought away from home. If we get a point, it's a decent result. But I think Pep will be going up the road today disappointed. To concede a 93rd minute equaliser. Yes, they had possession, but I don't like this word dominated. Arteta mentioned it. Declan Rice mentioned it a couple of times in the interview after. I don't think he dominated possession, but my interpretation of domination is shots on goal, keeper making loads of save, blocks, hitting the post. He didn't do that. He didn't create that many chances.
So they didn't dominate for you?
Not in my opinion, no.
OK,
right. Didn't dominate.
No, we're agreeing on that.
Let's go back to that first half then, that you were talking about, and a lack of intensity. Why?
Well, for me, obviously, Arsenal had a lot more time to prepare for this game.
Because they played Tuesday, City played Thursday.
And when I say lack of intensity, it was more the fact that these players were out of sync and the options weren't available to the likes of Saliba. In past, obviously, Declan Rice would make a move, but there was no options, and the easy options to come outside and go and recycle the ball. But they were going long quite often that led to nothing. And this was a general pattern. And the flow of Arsenal, the first touch, Gyökeres not quite happening from today. Again, it was more the fact it was a bit sloppy. And Gabriel here, we'd be a bit calm in these circumstances. And again, it's just more the rhythm that felt nervous today for Arsenal watching them. The easy option here for Raya is to go out to Saliba and Rice, but when I talk about habits, they played like they didn't know each other today. That was the side of it, going long to Timber. It's not often it happens. Rice calm on the ball, plenty of options. Again, he goes long to Madueke. How often do we see Madueke get the ball in this height? We never see this. So for me, this was the difference in the first half. Little things like this, poor decision making, you know, the energy wasn't there, and just the final pass here, when you look at to make the difference, this was the disappointing for me. When I'm talking about dominate, for me that wasn't in the first half.
Does that partly come? I know I'm going back to the midfield thing, and Mikel Arteta was quite defensive about that afterwards. He said nobody criticised the midfield in Bilbao, and it was the same midfield. Yeah. In the Premier League, Rice and Marino, when they've started together in midfield, they've only won one of the 10 Premier League games that they've featured. Is it a defensive midfield that's the problem there?
Well, I think there's a number of players that like to play that position. I think Marino isn't at number 10. I'd like to see maybe someone like Eze up there who's going to be a bit more creative. We've got some similar players, and when you have a number of players that are left-footed as well, Marino and Zubimendi are very similar in that sense. So for me, at times, they get in each other's way. And I think the balance isn't right for me in that
If
position.
you have Gyökeres there as well, are they having to learn as a team how to go long to him?
I think so. Look, he's a player who likes to go into space, but clearly there wasn't much space to go into today. And they're not playing to his strengths in the big games when Arsenal actually have all the possession. I don't think it really actually gives Gyökeres his main gifts. It's not about possession. He's more about a counter-attacking player for me.
Let's do a positive then.
Yeah.
So far it's been, you know...
I'm more positive than negative.
You are,
and
look at the equalising goal from an Arsenal perspective.
Yeah, Mikel talks about game changers, super subs, finishers, however you want to say it. But Martinelli would have been disappointed, obviously not starting today. And I think in past times people whinge about that. But look, Albert Stuyvenberg just messaged to Mikel about should we just change things up. And this was very, very different. You never tend to see Saka on the left-hand side and Martinelli went on the right-hand side. So it was a pattern that's not happened, and they just felt we need to probably change something, do something different. And then 3 minutes later, this happens, the connection, the eye contact that Eze and Martinelli are talking about, and the run is perfect, the timing, everything about the goal and the finish. Obviously, we can come on to the keeper shortly, but when you have in that position, there's only one finish you can do. And Martinelli is rewarded tonight with his patience and his attitude to come off the bench, because that says a lot about his character for me.
You were saying as well that he's one of the few who will sort of run in behind.
He's the only one. He's the only one. I couldn't name you another player that would do...
Out of that group of attackers.
We'll be happy to not have the ball and make the runs, to be those... You know, there's no one else in that team that does that in Arsenal for me.
All right, let's delve more into City's approach today then.
Well, I think the game plan was probably to give up possession, sit in a relatively defensive shape. And when you have the players like as Haaland and Reinders breaking from midfield, you've still got a chance of winning the game. I remember, famous teams like Mourinho in the past giving up possession, but they're still very dangerous on the break. This is the goal. I mean, this is phenomenal what Haaland. Keep an eye on Haaland here. I mean, he's a brilliant flick around the corner to Reinders, but watch the pace. Him and Gabriel are equal at this point, and he just leaves him for dead. It's a fantastic pass from Reinders. And then again, can the big man finish? Too right he can. First touch is good, and then his eyes lighten up. I know he's a left footer, but just slots it away nicely. But again, that's from a sort of defensive shape. And this is the picture we've seen, Mark, most of the second half. Man City were really very deep. I mean, we don't see that often. Even Haaland's in the back line there defending, defending crosses, defending balls, and making Arsenal go wide, keeping it really, really compact. And this is not like a Pep Guardiola team at all. It's normally the opposition teams, I guess. And we've seen Arteta in the past when he's got a lead. He's getting everyone behind the ball, like we see here in this picture. Everyone's behind the ball, defending the box. Of course, they don't have to score again. So keep it nice and solid. Have Arsenal got the answers? Can they break through the lines? Can they, break us down, basically? It's a bit like we do in training, Theo, attack v defence. Can they get through the lines? Are they good enough to break down? And I don't think they were today. I really don't. I think they got lucky in the end with the goal. This comes this is the goal. It came from a corner. And you watch City here now. They'll be raging with this. They break away. I think it's Reinders, Rodri, Savinho, and it's Gonzalez. They break away. This is probably the first time they break away for the second half. Really, they break out from the group and look at the back line, the back four, the back five. Now Pep's going mental at the sideline. What are you doing? It's the 93rd minute mark. and now they're in a bit of trouble. So keep an eye out here now. Eze gets the ball, but Savinho's only come on the 87th minute. For me, he's the most attacking player. Go and press Eze. He's just jogging. He's disinterested. There's no pressure on the ball. The back five have to drop. They don't. And then keep an eye on Donnarumma as well. I think he's in good position. His starting position is really good now. But this ball from Eze, in my opinion, is world class. So a goalkeeper, his job is decision making. For me, he makes the wrong decisions. He stays in that position. If he drops off, like we've just shown, drop off. I think Martinelli doesn't even take the shot on. There's another angle just coming now. Watch Donnarumma at the top of your picture. Brilliant ball from Eze. Don't get me wrong. Great touch from Martinelli. But if Donnarumma drops off when the first ball comes in, make that decision, the right one, I don't even think Martinelli takes the shot on. He might play the Gyökeres or whatever, but he makes up his mind, Donnarumma's positioning. It's a brilliant finish, but I think the goalkeeper helps him.
So 9 times out of 10, as soon as that ball goes over the top, you as a goalkeeper would
Where decisions
retreat.
to come and sweeper keepers, we've seen many a time, or drop off. You know, goalkeeping is as much about making saves and stuff, but it's decision making. And for me, he made the wrong decision.
Do you also take into account what Pep Guardiola spoke about afterwards, the week that they've had? They've had the Manchester derby on the Monday. They played Napoli on the Sunday. They played Napoli on the Thursday. Arsenal played on the Tuesday. So is there an element of tiredness for them? And the reverse of that is he's picked the same starting lineup for all 3 of those games, so he could have rotated.
Well, that's down to him, isn't it, as a manager? He could have rotated. I mean, there is an argument for 2 days extra rest for Arsenal, of course there is. But Napoli had, I think, 10 men for about 70 minutes as well in the game on Thursday. So I don't know. I just don't think City have hit the heights that we've known in the past, you know, possession-based football. And what I would just quickly comment, I think that comes from the goalkeepers. I think Donnarumma, for me, is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. But Man City have to change how they play now. There was times today that the centre-half would normally go back to John, keep the ball. But they weren't. They were just sort of giving it back to Arsenal and sort of defending the box. So that's something they'll have to adjust at Man City as well.
Is that a missed opportunity for Arsenal? Because Liverpool have started the season relentlessly, so you're going to have to go toe-to-toe with them, aren't you, if you're going to be in a title race for Arsenal?
I don't see it as a missed opportunity. I really don't, because I think this season Arsenal need to make up more draws. You know, I don't think they're going to draw as many. I think they're more likely to win those games that they drew last year. So for me, it's probably a point gained in the end, because it could have been lost. Could have easily been lost today. You? Think so?
I was looking for your opinion.
Looking at me there?
Yeah. You know, when I look at you, I expect you to talk.
I think it's an opportunity missed from Arsenal. I really do. The home advantage. They'll have to go to that. They had the second half of the season, and it'll be a different game. Then I think it's an opportunity missed. A bit like the Liverpool game a couple of weeks ago. They went to Anfield. They stayed very defensive. I think they've got so many attacking options, and Eze, for me, is a miss not starting him today.
OK. I prefer it when you dominate the conversation. 4 games in.